Friday to you all. Welcome into the PHNX Diamondbacks show. Shout out to OG's Brands, the official sponsor of Flavoring Fridays. Head on over to ogsbrands.com to see their full lineup, including their two newest gummies, the OG's Naturals and the Big OGs, which you know I'm a fan of, and find out where you can purchase these wonderful products. Of course, welcome in to a Friday edition of the PHNX D-Back show right here on PHNX. I am your mayor of this joint, occasionally known as Derek Montilla. There's a photo of me in Studio B now proving it, so you can't refute that I'm the mayor of PHNX any longer. This man over here tried to claim that while I was gone, but if you come for the king, you best not miss. This is the one and only Vice Mayor, Jesse Friedman. He's your thunderstick, by the way. But what's up, buddy? Happy Friday. How's it going?
Things are good.
We're processing a recent trade.
We're trying to figure out what Jerry Dipoto is doing, which is kind of just, I mean, that's sort of what the baseball community at large exists to do, is make sense of what Jerry Dipoto is.
It's one of our favorite games to play. But let's just get into it. We got a little spying on our exes to do, David. Can we get with it? Let's go. Let's spy on our exes. Yes. We found out, breaking news per Jeff Passan, that the Mariners have traded former Arizona Diamondback Robbie Ray to the San Francisco Giants. So we have to deal with him a whole lot more now. Yeah. What was the return here, Jesse? What's the whole trade?
Yeah, so it's Robbie Ray to the San Francisco Giants in exchange for another old friend here in Arizona, Mitch Haniger.
That's right. Spying on multiple X's here.
Yes, he signed with the Giants as a free agent last offseason, and then right-handed pitcher Anthony DeSclafani also heading over to the Seattle Mariners in this deal.
What is happening? What is this? Can you make any sense of this deal? Robbie Ray, former Cy Young winner, right? Who really didn't get a chance to have a lot of time there in Seattle before being injured and having his season shut down.
Yeah, I think I kind of get it from the Giants' perspective in that Mitch Haniger he was hurt a lot, as he often has been throughout his career, right? He was hurt a lot in his first year in San Francisco, was not particularly good. He had, I think, the worst offensive season he's ever had, an OPS plus around 70. And then Anthony DeSclafani also was not particularly productive for the Giants in 2023. So they get rid of a couple players who, I guess moving forward, maybe they didn't really want to have to rely on Mitch Haniger, Anthony DeSclafani all that much. And in return, they're getting a pitcher in Robbie Ray, who won the AL Cy Young just a couple years ago and is coming off Tommy John surgery. So Robbie Ray is not going to pitch for the Giants until June, July, maybe right after the All-Star break, something like that. Yeah. But he is at his best, he has the ability to be a frontline starting pitcher. Of course, there's some risk coming back from Tommy John surgery. But for the Giants, I guess you're kind of getting rid of two pieces that maybe you didn't really see a big future for. DeSclafani, just one more year on his deal. Mitch Haniger has 2 more years on his deal. In return, you're getting theoretically 3 years of Robbie Ray, although I think he has an opt-out after the 2024 season. So maybe there's a world in which Robbie Ray just, kills it in the second half of the 2024 season and then leaves in free agency. But I don't think either team is like a big winner here. It's just a weird trade. And for Jerry Dipoto, this is par for the course.
Well,
right?
And again, when you talk about adding Robbie Ray to Logan Webb and Ross Stripling for the Giants rotation, you can see why they did this, and maybe they feel like it was a low risk, high reward kind of situation with bringing Robbie Ray back. They know what he has been. They know how good he was for the Toronto Blue Jays, at least once he became a member of that franchise, and he was very good for the Diamondbacks. He became a different level pitcher when he went to Toronto, I feel like, and that was something that was a bit disappointing, considering that we always knew he could be good, but it always felt like watching Robbie Ray on the D-backs was like watching a guy that always got left in for just one inning too long. It felt like, he'd have these masterful performances through 4 innings, 5 innings, but things would fall apart for him. But it's going to be interesting to have Robbie Ray back in the division now and be playing against him once he returns. And I think the Giants still have a lot of money to spend considering the rumored free agents that they were connected to at times and how much money they were looking to spend on this team. And I mean, obviously, they did bring over the grandson of the Wind. So that right there is a big hit for them.
Yeah.
But I mean, they definitely could be looking to add to this team that was like underrated, but still surprisingly good at times. Like this Giants team was in the mix for a wild card spot there for a while when they really, like, looking at the roster, didn't really look like they had any business being.
Yeah, Elise also touches in the comments on the contracts in this trade, which I want to talk about real quick. None of the contracts to any of these players are good right now. Robbie Ray off Tommy John surgery. I mentioned there's an opt-out after 2024. But beyond that, it's 3 years and $73 million remaining. So it's about $25 million per year for Robbie Ray. And I think there's a world in which he could be worth that, but there's obviously risk coming back from Tommy John surgery. You don't know exactly what you're going to get there. Mitch Haniger, 2 years and $32.5 million left on his deal for a guy who, as I mentioned earlier, had a 73 OPS plus in 2023 and did not play all that many games as he tends to do. That's not exactly an enticing contract. And then Anthony DeSclafani, after having an ERA of almost 5 in San Francisco this last year, a pitcher-friendly ballpark, he has 1 year and $12 million remaining. So none of these contracts are good. I guess the Mariners are taking back a couple of not so good ones, but there's some upside with Mitch Haniger. You feel like he can maybe bounce back. And the Mariners are getting rid of a bigger contract in Robbie Ray, which goes over to San Francisco. And the Mariners don't necessarily need Robbie Ray. I guess that's the other big part of this. The Mariners have a pretty full, solid rotation as it is. Luis Castillo, Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Bryce Miller, Brian Wu. That's a pretty solid 1 through 5 right there without having a guy who, won the Cy Young Award a couple years ago. So the Mariners have the ability to make a trade like this. It is kind of funny in some ways that, Mariners were, I think a lot of Mariners fans have been talking about, potentially trading off one of these young starting pitchers and trying to get some young stud hitter in return, right?
Yeah,
the Mariners need to add some offense to this team. And Jerry DiPoto did trade one of his starting pitchers, and he got Mitch Haniger, which is probably obviously someone Mariners fans are familiar with. He had some good seasons there, but that's not exactly the prize of the offseason when you're looking to upgrade your offense.
Well, we do have some other transactions, even though the MLB offseason continues to kind of crawl along with the big transactions. This one actually today is one of the bigger ones, but Harrison Bader did sign a 1 year, $10.5 million deal with the New York Mets. I'm not.
Are you calling that a steal, Dan?
No, I'm not implying that he's stealing money from the Mets at all. But no, Harrison Bader, $10.5 million deal with the Mets. Again, not huge, just more money than I thought he would get, and not a risky deal for the Mets considering how much money they've been throwing around, but trying to add some depth and almost like it's a weird move for the Mets considering that they haven't had that big free agent splash, and I don't know if they're going to be looking to do that. Like, we know that they were connected to some of the big names, but so far they've been unsuccessful. So they have a lot of things to fix with that team right now.
Yeah. It is interesting with Harrison Bader. There was some reporting during the season that the Diamondbacks attempted to claim Harrison Bader during that insane period of time when a bunch of teams were letting some of their players go on waivers, and it was all in reverse order of your record. So I think the Diamondback, you went to the Reds. Bader wound up landing with the Reds. The Diamondbacks had like the next selection spot immediately after that. So theoretically, they almost had Harrison Bader.
Almost.
Bader, played some games with Cincinnati, only 34 plate appearances. He had a 429 OPS in his time there. obviously a very small sample size. And overall, he had a 622 OPS in 2023, and he signs for more than $10 million with the New York Mets. But I get it, because Harrison Bader is arguably the best center fielder in the sport, at least one of the best center fielders in all of baseball.
Yeah.
And he destroys lefties. You know, don't be fooled by the 622 OPS. That is him being basically the worst hitter in baseball against right-handed pitching, but also like very good against lefties. An OPS just under 1,000 in 2023. So in a platoon kind of a role, he makes a lot of sense, and I think can be an impact player. And he certainly got paid like it. You don't see short side platoon players go for over $10 million. I guess that just speaks to Bader's defense and kind of a lack of talent in the position player market right now.
Teams continue to look overseas for ways to improve themselves. The Padres have signed. Is it Woo Suk Go? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm the person to ask there.
Yeah,
I think that's right.
I feel like I feel like that's like not correct, but I'm gonna go with it because I do know Suk would be different, but it's Woo Suk or Woo Suk Go. He's a 25-year-old right-handed reliever from Korea to a 2-year deal worth $4.5 million. That's the Padres signed him to that with a mutual option for 2026. And a little surprising that teams are willing to honestly commit to overseas players for any length amount, anything longer than like a year or something like that. But again, that goes back to, I think we're past that period of time where people don't think leagues like the KBO or leagues like in Japan are as competitive as Major League Baseball. They are willing to sign the stars from those leagues, even a middle reliever like this, and bring them over and at least give them a multi-year deal.
I think middle reliever is probably what he translates to in the majors. He was closing some games over there in Korea. A 3.68 ERA in 2023, which coming over from the KBO is not a very exciting number. He did have a 1.48 ERA the season prior. He's relatively young. He's only 25 years old. So, you feel like there's not a ton of risk here for the Padres. It's just a little over $4 million over 2 years. If you find yourself with a decent right-handed reliever, paying $2 million a year for that would be a big win for them. But yeah, the numbers in Korea are not real impressive there. Yeah.
Well, the MLB trade deadline is a little sooner now. According to reports, the trade deadline is now set for July 30th instead of August 1st.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. Very interesting.
We're not going to end the month with it. We're just going to pick we're going to pick a 31-day month and then end the trade deadline on the 30th just to be weird.
So in the CBA, the commissioner actually has the ability to pick any day between July 28th and August 3rd, which is kind of a weird thing that a lot of people might not know about. And it's not like it gets used all the time, right? You don't see the trade deadline like switching days on an annual basis or anything. But it sounds like the goal here was to avoid having the trade deadline on a weekend day. You don't want to have an afternoon trade deadline at a time when a lot of afternoon games are happening, and then you wind up in this awkward position where players are actively playing
from games.
The whole hug watch thing. So yeah, they moved the day, and I think this is a Tuesday that it would land on now. So yeah, just trying to avoid having it on a day where day games would be more likely.
Okay, well that makes sense. You got me on that one, but what you won't get me on was believing that this other move that we're going to talk about wasn't going to happen, because in the most Atlanta Braves thing to happen ever,
should have seen this coming.
Chris Sale has been extended by the Atlanta Braves, and I mean, again, should we be surprised at all? Should any player be surprised? Like, if you go to the Atlanta Braves, whether by choice or by trade, do you just instantly know that you're going to be extended to a long-term deal with the team, and you're just going to become a cornerstone of the franchise? Because that's what it feels like every single one of their players is now.
Yeah, this is interesting. Chris Sale had been slated to make, I think it was $27.5 million this upcoming season. So a pretty big number, but $10 million of that was deferred. We've gotten to know a lot about deferrals.
I'm an expert on that.
We're all experts on deferrals now. But in that trade, the Boston Red Sox sent over $17 million. So they basically covered the current day portion of Chris Sale's salary. And then the Braves were just on the hook for the deferral of $10 million, which I think was like way down the road. But now with this new deal, it locks in a lower dollar value for 2024. So basically the Braves are no longer going to have to pay that deferral payment way down the road. But in return, they're tacking on an additional guaranteed season for Chris Sale, which, a pitcher of his age with as much volatility as he's had in his career, there's a lot of value in that for him. So yeah, it's nothing too crazy. It's $16 million in 2024. It's that tacked on $22 million in 2025. And then there's a club option for 2026. So maybe there's some world where Chris Sale is durable over the next couple seasons and pitches well, and the Braves want to bring him back for a third year.
Can the Diamondbacks can we do this? Can we ever be this? Can they ever actually do this? Can they do this with this team at this point? Like, we talked about extending Gabby. We've talked about, obviously, at length, extending Zach Gallen, but it just feels like, especially with what this team built together last season, that now is the time to strike when it comes to spending money. I mean, I'm almost satisfied with the offseason moves they've made up to this point. Greeny in our chat asks, will the Diamondbacks add another starter? Fott is good but still young and a bit of a wild card. Henry Nelson, Ciccone as fifth starters doesn't seem too appealing, and you're not wrong about that, but I think going back to what I was just saying, I would almost prefer like that they just committed some money. I mean, I know they want to extend these guys. I'm sure there's no doubt about it. But what do you think the likelihood is that the Diamondbacks can lock in at least the majority of this core to some extensions, including maybe not Zach Gallen, but like Gabby Moreno and Alec Thomas and some of these other guys?
Yeah, I think there's only a handful that would really make sense for an extension right now. Gabby Moreno is one that we've talked about on this show a decent amount, someone that I think makes a lot of sense to extend if the Diamondbacks can find a way. He came into the league so young that he would hit free agency at 28. You don't necessarily want to extend a catcher out until they're like 32, 33 years old. Catchers tend to age a little bit worse than a lot of other players just because of the toll that role takes on your body. But yeah,
when he's our version of Yachty.
Yeah. I mean, I think that you would totally want to have Gabby Moreno here through his age 29 or age 30 season. So I think that definitely makes sense. Zach Gallen is the other obvious one that you mentioned. We've talked about that a little bit and how it doesn't seem super likely, although I wouldn't say it's totally impossible. Something the Diamondbacks should do if they can, right?
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what the ask is there, but it's probably very, very high given how good Zach Gallen has been.
Pay it.
And then we talked about Christian Walker within the last week or two on the show as well. He is set to become a free agent after the 2024 season. And we talked then about how there's kind of this disconnect between what projection systems say Christian Walker is worth versus what Christian Walker has actually done. He has been one of those players throughout really all of his Diamondbacks career. He's just constantly outperformed what like the computers said he was going to do.
Yeah.
And that makes it tough because moving forward, the D-backs are going to probably want to pay him based on what the computers say he's going to be.
Those damn computers.
But he's also been a 4-WAR player in back-to-back seasons. I don't know if you're signing someone like that, for $13, $14 million a year for a couple more years. So it seems unlikely that would happen, but the Diamondbacks don't have any clear options at first base after 2024 as of right now. There are some guys in the system who could certainly emerge, but it's unclear at this point who those guys are. And if you could get another year or two of Christian Walker to kind of bridge that gap, it definitely could make sense.
Well, we appreciate you guys being here in the PHNX Sports YouTube channel right now in the chat. We thank you so much. Ski to you all. Of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel now, we suggest to do so. It's a great channel. We're big fans of it. You can also sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss
when
any of our shows go live.
You should subscribe to our channel because we think it's great.
Yeah, we think it's great. We think it's great. We think you'll think it's great. And, stick around, hang out. Drop a like Gabby says. There's Gabby. We want to extend him. He wants to extend us. It's a mutual extension thing. Of course, make sure if you're listening on the audio podcasting side that you subscribe there as well. Leave us a 5-star review. We always appreciate and love that. Of course, a great place to check out this winter, I guess you could say, if you want to call it that, around Arizona, is Illegal Pete's, because it's never really too cold to sit outside on the patio. Jesse might tell you otherwise. We might have a disagreement about that, but this temperature around here is beautiful. These days are beautiful. So check out Illegal Pete's. They got their patio bar. They have, of course, the strongest margaritas in all of Arizona, irresistible drinks and mouthwatering food. And of course, kick the Monday blues with $3 margaritas off all day long, or ease your way back into the week with $2 tacos every Tuesday. If you work in healthcare or education, take your team to lunch at Illegal Pete's every Tuesday. Enjoy buy one, get one free entrees. And don't forget to unwind after a long day at their happy hour, 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. every day. Illegal Pete's, your go-to spot for burritos, buddies, and beer.
I love that place, man. I'm there once a week.
I know you are.
Like, at least.
Yeah, they know him by name.
I show up and they go, the
like,
usual.
Damon Dog, bark, bark.
You want the Damon burrito? I go, absolutely, I'll take the Damon burrito. Thanks, man.
When you have a food named after you, then that's it's a whole other level of participation.
Is there actually a Damon burrito?
We're going to have to try it.
Okay.
I don't even want to know what's in it. I just want to order it and try it. I want to order it and see if they say yes, or if they go, who the hell is Damon? Then we'll see. But imagine if they were like, oh yeah, bark, bark, and then they just start making it.
They are Damon's dogs.
I would lose my
Illegal
mind.
Pete's is absolutely Damon's dogs.
Yeah, they are for sure Damon's dogs, of course. I'll tell you who else is Damon's dogs. OG's Brands, which sponsors our Flavoring Fridays. OG's has launched their 2 new products that I am a big fan of, made with live rosin and, of course, Rick Simpson oil, which I've talked about quite a bit. The OG's Naturals and the Big OG's. OG's Naturals are vegan gummies made with live rosin and available in a sweet clementine flavor. Meanwhile, the Big OG's gummies is a mega version of my favorite, the Pigs Raspberry Orange RSO, one of the company's most popular products. It's perforated into 10 slices, each with 10 milligrams each, for a total of 100 milligrams. But it's also together in one piece that you could eat, just suggesting if you are like me. Anyway, like freshly squeezed juice, live rosin is created through a pressing process. The highest quality harvested cannabis is frozen and then pressed to extract the all-natural live rosin oil. So to learn more about OG's gummies and where you can find them, head on over to ogsbrands.com. Big fan of OG's Brands. Elise asks in the chat, are the D-backs doing a fan fest this year? Feels like this season would be one to have it, with how much revigorated interest there is in the team. She's definitely not wrong about that, Jesse.
They absolutely should. We have not heard anything about a fan fest at this point.
But we'll find out. We'll get back to you with that information.
If they're doing it, it would probably happen fairly soon, right? Like within the next month or so. Yeah.
And I know last year it was a season ticket holder advantage member, I think they call it, exclusive event. So we'll see if that continues. But another thing we're hoping that continues is Ketel Marte's excellent season from 2023, and more importantly, the role that he went on during the 2023 postseason into the 2024 year. And we would love to see that. Ketel is considered hitting right-handed over the offseason.
Yeah, this was a story that came. I think Nick Pecoro wrote this during spring training, maybe the beginning of spring training. That Ketel Marte actually was interested in trying what it would look like if he just hit right-handed instead of being a switch hitter. It's been this narrative for him for a while that he destroys left-handed pitching, batting right-handed, and his exit velos as a right-handed hitter have been off the charts for years, it seems. But his ability to hit left-handed, to hit right-handed pitching, has kind of come and gone, and it was not there for him in 2022. So entering 2023, gave it a shot. He did some work back home and kind of tried some things out, but eventually came to the conclusion that seeing a slider from a right-handed pitcher is a heck of a lot more difficult when you're batting right-handed than when you're batting left-handed. It's just, and that's that's an adjustment that maybe he could have made years ago, but at this point in his career, that's a pretty big adjustment to try to make all of a sudden. And with how his 2023 season played out, I think he made the right choice. And just kind of keeping it as it is. He had an outstanding 2023 season.
Let's take a look at his numbers from that 2023 season. He averaged 276 with a 358 on base percentage and 485 slug. He hit 25 home runs with 82 RBI and a 4.2 FWAR. And yeah, man, I mean, I don't think you could ask for much more then not only that consistency that he had throughout the season, but then the carryover into the postseason, the hitting streak, the historic hitting streak that he went on, everything he was able to do for this team offensively. I mean, he was just a huge part of the reason why we saw this team advance to the World Series.
Yeah, he really was. And I mean, his breakout this season was so big for the Diamondbacks in solidifying the middle of this lineup. He was a pretty consistent hitter. Like Ketel Marte was kind of hitting from the get-go in a way that not right. Lourdes Gurriel, we've talked a lot about his extreme ups and downs. Corbin Carroll, we touched on yesterday how he was so good for a good chunk of the season, but then kind of fell off for about 50 games or so in the middle. Christian Walker was pretty consistent, had some ups and downs of his own. But yeah, Ketel Marte, one of the most consistent offensive contributors for this team throughout the season. And a big part of this breakout for him, going back to what we were talking about earlier, was being able to hit right-handed pitching again. And if we look at this graphic, which has a breakdown of Ketel's splits against lefties and righties, he was really good against both. He was still better against lefties. I don't think that's ever going to change. Ketel is always going to be able to roll out of bed and just destroy the baseball against left-handed pitching. He did that in 2023, 313, 382, 497. That was a slash against lefties. But against righties, he slashed 259, 348, 479. 20 of his 25 home runs, 70 of his 82 RBI came against right-handed pitching. And that's really what unlocked this incredible 2023 season for him.
He just his average exit velo against righties went from 89.1 miles per hour in 2022 to 91.1 miles per hour in 2023, and his hard hit rate went from 40.1% to 44.1%. I mean, it doesn't sound like that big of a improvement, but it really is quite the jump, right?
Yeah. And I mean, looking at his season in 2022, he just was not good against right-handed pitching. It wasn't that Ketel was around league average or a little above league average.
He's just bad.
He had a 696 OPS against righties in 2022. And that's tough. Like, most pitchers are right-handed. You become a much less valuable player if you're doing, a big portion of your damage against lefties. And even going back to 2021, a season where Ketel was really good, right? He wasn't healthy all that much. He only played 90 games. But his splits in 2021, he had a 792 OPS against righties, which is good, right? He was good against righties, but he had an 1171 against lefties. Like, it was just so outrageously imbalanced. This year, he found a way to kind of bring things together a little bit where, he wasn't quite so crazy good against lefties, but he actually was better against righties in 2023 than he was in 2021. And that's huge for him. I mean, the more that he's able to kind of, find a way to be well above average against right-handed pitching, that's really the biggest thing for Ketel, and he did that in a huge way in 2023.
He's been a member of the organization for 7 seasons now. And
2017 through 2023, he's played seven seasons with the Diamondbacks.
And his best seasons, 2019, 2021, 2023. This doesn't bode well for 2024, Jesse. I hope that he breaks the trend finally.
Yeah, we touched on that a little bit yesterday. He definitely has the even year, odd year thing going.
But those odd years, those were pretty damn good.
Yeah,
years.
Those odd years are pretty good, and the even years weren't. They weren't terrible. 2018, he was pretty good. So yeah, we'll see if he's able to overcome that this season.
And I was going to say, do you think that is what we'll see? Do you think that we will see? Because, something to be said about some of those seasons like 2022 was he was impacted by injuries. And we saw how that did,
for sure.
Obviously limit him offensively, and it limited him defensively. They had the whole center field experiment. There's been a lot of things that haven't worked out, but I feel like this is the most consistency that he's going to have going from 23 to 24, being healthy, coming off that run, and hopefully still being hungry to want to get back to playing in that postseason, considering he did what he did during the playoffs and made that history.
Yeah, I mean, he was a star in the postseason, right? I mean, he was right at the center of everything the Diamondbacks were doing in those first few rounds of the playoffs. World Series. A little bit of a different story for a lot of hitters in this lineup. But yeah, he was the NLCS MVP for a reason, as you said earlier, and one of the better players in Diamondbacks history. I mean, he certainly has some kind of a longevity factor at this point, having played those 7 seasons, as we said earlier. And he ranks 6th in Diamondbacks WAR of all time. Every player who's ever donned a Diamondbacks uniform, he is 6th in wins above replacement. And he's in some pretty good company, right? It's Randy Johnson, it's Kurt Schilling, it's Brandon Webb, it is Luis Gonzalez, who is ahead of him as well. Paul Goldschmidt, of course. He's right behind all of those guys.
He really is.
He has had a solid career as a Diamondback. And yeah, as far as whether it's going to continue in 2024, Ketel, he's been a little unpredictable, right? I wish I could come out and say that I have utter confidence that Ketel will come out in 2024 and be the exact same player he was in 2023. Zips, as we saw yesterday, seems to think that that's exactly what's going to happen. Yes. So, that at least said something to me, that some of those underlying numbers are supporting Ketel coming out and having a good 2024 season. But health is a big factor. And as you said, he was not really healthy in 2022, even though he still played a good number of games. He was healthy in 2023, probably the healthiest season he's ever had in the majors. I think that was a huge part of his success. And I guess that's a lot of what this comes down to in 2024 is Ketel healthy throughout at least most of the season, not trying to play through stuff the whole year as he kind of was in 2022. Yeah.
Gabriel in the comments says Ketel's number will be retired. Mark my words. I hope you're right. I think of Michael's question from Mailbag Monday or Tuesday or whatever that was, where, he asked about Ketel maybe playing, DH. And again, it comes down to the health. I don't hate that idea due to health, but you have to have somebody that's capable of playing second base. I know his defense hasn't been, stellar at times, but he's still been a pretty damn good second baseman out there. And he's also been a lot of fun to watch. And I have the utmost confidence that he will still cut you off in traffic at some point on the way to the ballpark in the 2024 season. So I think that's going to happen. Basil or Basil in the comments is asking about Yurubio Durazo. Signing a minor league deal? Is it just like an honorary deal? That man is going to be 50 years old this month, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Later this month, he turns 50. So
his nephew, who's my friend, listens to this show. I don't think that's him, but I'm sure he'll get a kick out of that.
You know what? I would love to see it. I'd love to see it. Bring him back. Let him have one big swing of the bat. But
there's the solution at first base,
there
right?
We go.
We're talking about what do you do for Christian Walker?
We figured it out.
Sign a Rubio Durazo to a minor league deal, get him some reps in AAA, bring him up next year.
Put your money on
perfect.
It. Actually, don't put your money on it. Put your money on something more likely than that. But you can go to BetMGM and put your money on lots of things, of course. Listen to Damon over at our bet show, because he will guide you sometimes. Sometimes he won't.
Hey, sometimes he'll lead you astray.
Positive days every day this week. We will be going live later.
Let's go.
Hit that notification button.
Yeah. Hit that notification button. Don't miss out on Damon Dog giving you the bets. But you can use his advice over at the BetMGM Sportsbook app, and you can also get down on your first bet if you haven't done so already, and have a free bonus bet back if your bet does not hit. Of course, all you got to do is download the app on iOS or Android, or visit BetMGM.com. Sign up and deposit $10 into your sportsbook account, place your first wager, and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your bet loses. If the bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled, but make sure to use that code of PHNX. Make sure to listen to Damon. But again, do sign up for BetMGM and use that bonus code of PHNX. Place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through the BetMGM Sportsbook mobile application of at least $10. If that bet loses, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Check out the show notes for full details. And now listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Nevada, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., New York, or Ontario.
Ontario. Elise kind of alpha Gabriel's comment here with hers where it says Ketel will replace one of the legends in the legends race someday. That would be so incredible.
Can you replace one of the legends?
Yeah, you can replace Mark Grace, I think. We need a modern day legend.
He's taken enough grief over the years in that role. Maybe he wouldn't miss it.
It's time to retire Racing Gracie. Ketel would like the dreads hanging out the back and like the black and teal jersey. That would go fire.
You want to run as Ketel a few years from now?
Yes, that's if you're asking me, I accept.
Would you run the way that Ketel runs out of the box when he walks?
Oh yeah, only on walks. Only on walks, not the way he runs on singles or doubles. But okay. Another great thing that you guys can do is check out our friends at Desert Financial Credit Union, because for more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted credit union. And I can speak from experience. I got started on my home ownership journey, my house that I'm still in to this day, a long time from when I purchased it. I got started on that through our friends at Desert Financial Credit Union. They're dedicated to creating exceptional experiences by giving back to the community and providing financial solutions that make lives better. They have checking and savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and so much more. Join a credit union that is committed to giving back to the community and sharing success with its members. When you open a free checking account online right now, you can get $200 in bonuses. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200 right now. Go do it. Go get some free money. And also, if you are a diehard member, we thank you guys for being here. We thank you for being a diehard member. If you are not a diehard member, make sure to sign up today at gophnx.com. That way you don't miss Jesse's wonderful newsletter. Don't miss our wild shirts that we have over at the phnxlocker.com that you get one for free as part of your little welcome package, and so much more. So you'll get discounts with our partners, get access to the Discord lounge with exclusive Discord content, and so much more. So again, sign up today over at gophnx.com and become part of our family. We love you. We want to hang out. We want to send you Christmas cards and stuff like that. Speaking of Christmas, which it's always nice temperature-wise around here, we had an ESPN article drop talking about the temperature of each franchise. Can you explain this more?
I can try.
Temperature of a franchise is, Jesse?
What is your favorite temperature, Derek? We should start there.
84 degrees is my favorite temperature.
Wow, you're a true Arizonan. That's a little warm.
Oh, 84 is
84
beautiful.
In the shade, I can go with. 84 in the sun, that could be a little warm.
It reminds me of the old Lewis Black bit where he talked about, imagine being a weatherman in San Diego where your job every day is just to go on TV and go, it's nice outside, back to you. Right? So yeah, like when I go to San Diego and it's 86 and I'm on the beach, I'm in a really good mood.
When is it 86 in San Diego though?
Is that hot?
I feel like San Diego never reaches 86.
76? 76?
That's more San Diego.
76. Yeah, San Diego is the place where it is 76
in Arizona. You guys are splitting hairs
day.
for me because it's all nice under 90 for me. So I don't know what we're talking
78 is like beautiful.
Yeah.
Give me somewhere in the high 70s.
Yeah.
I mean, again,
I'm with Damon there.
I want to go in the water, though. I want to go in the water is what I'm.
It's the Puerto Rican in you speaking right now.
Right. Yeah. I want to eat fried foods and drink liquor and go in the water.
So the idea here, Derek, is that every team starts at 72 degrees, which they're defining as like room temperature.
Okay.
So when the Diamondbacks were birthed,
that's what every hotel room is set at when I go inside.
Yeah,
it's always
right.
Too warm.
Room temperature. So when the Diamondbacks were birthed back in 1998, they were born with a body temperature of 72 degrees, which I think is a medical emergency, but it worked out. It was all right. They weren't so great in 98, but they bounced back. And
doctors used to be weird.
Yeah,
doctors were weird back in 98, I guess.
They were maybe a little chilly when they were first born, but they warmed up pretty quick, obviously, with how things turned out.
So this scale starts you at 72.
It starts you at 72, and then you I think you get 90% of your previous year's temperature automatically. And then beyond that, you get bonuses for making the playoffs or having a 95-win season, or they just have all these different things based on team success that bump your temperature back up. So you might wind up losing temperature over time, or you might wind up gaining it. And it kind of all averages out to 72 degrees to perfect room temperature.
If you have like a drought of not making the playoffs and experiencing a significant number of losses every single year,
sure,
you're just essentially temperature is going to go down by 90% every year with not much to.
Yeah, well, and you would lose. I mean, I think you'll lose points in other ways too.
Oh, okay.
That part is a little unclear to me. This is a weird formula. I think this is based off something that Bill James did back in the day. So of course it's going to be very heavy mathematical and odd. But yeah, the Arizona Diamondbacks, Derek, are very comfortable. Very cool and comfortable at 70.1 degrees.
Okay.
So just a little bit lower than they started out at back in 98. But obviously, the World Series run helped them gain some ground in 2023, and we're back close to room temperature. That ranks 13th in baseball. That is the 13th highest temperature in baseball, where of course the best teams have the highest temperature. So they're slightly above average in that sense.
That actually makes quite a bit of sense because this franchise as a whole over time has not had a tremendous amount of success.
Right.
They haven't had a tremendous amount of playoff runs. Rarely have we put together. I don't think we have even put together was back-to-back playoff runs.
No.
Never.
Well, I mean, not
never been
not since
back-to-back
the very early days.
Right. So I mean, I think that's the big thing, right? Not a lot of seasons where even though we won a lot of games, we fell short of the division or making the playoffs. So most of the time, the Diamondbacks have been fairly mediocre. They've been around an 80-win team. It feels like the entire time this franchise has existed.
There's been a lot of middling seasons,
except the early on times, right? Like it's hard to think back and remember how good like 99 was and 2000, 2001 was, and how many games the teams were winning around that time. But yeah, no, I mean, this makes sense. You said ranks 13th in baseball, considering how young of a franchise it is. I guess that's pretty good, but I guess it also really doesn't matter much because most of these teams have had so much history behind this temperature index that I imagine that it fluctuates a lot more based on how many years they've existed for.
Yeah, and that might be the best part of this. This is all based on an ESPN article, by the way. You can go check this out if you're interested in finding out when all the teams' temperatures are. It's a kind of a bizarre but sort of fun thing. They have each team's franchise peak and then the lowest point that each franchise has ever been at over the course of their history. So the Arizona Diamondbacks, if I go back to them here on my list real quick, the Diamondbacks peaked. When do you think the Diamondbacks peaked?
2001.
It's about as obvious as you'd. So 125.6 degrees. So the Diamondbacks were scalding hot.
Oh my God.
In 2001, and obviously it wasn't just that season. It was the success that they had leading up to that. 1999, a huge season for the franchise. 2000, they were still above 500. 2001, winning the World Series that'll warm things up nicely.
I'm fairly certain that's the same temperature my mother-in-law likes her steak cooked to. Yeah, she's a rare girl.
125.
Yeah, that seems
pretty low.
She likes it rare.
I'm not an expert in
but
steak,
still hot enough for a steak to be cooked on the outside. I'm thinking.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, they had that instant success. We've talked about it a lot. We talked about Jerry Colangelo's, obviously impact on the Diamondbacks, going from the kind of families hanging out at a park fairy tale that they originally kind of seemed like they were going to try to be to a winner that won fast. And since then, not a lot of winning, or at least the winning has been sporadic. That's what makes this period of time so exciting. We were looking forward to the 2025 season. Gabriel, right there on screen, I think at one point was like World Series champs 2025. I remember that. And that was just like something that we kind of threw out there because we felt like this team was finally getting something, cooking to start the 2023 season. And man, how far they came in just 1 year. I think this could be that period of time where the Diamondbacks are able to put together some potential successful postseason runs in back-to-back years for the first time in franchise history.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess we can also talk about the lowest point ever in Diamondbacks history, which came in 2022.
I was going to say, did it coincide with the start of this podcast? Because I feel like it
pretty much. Yeah, they say 2022. I mean, it feels like 2021 would have been. I guess they were still a losing team in 2022. Yeah, so
they lost less. It was still a bad year though, where they didn't make the playoffs, didn't have a winning record, didn't really do much more than at least start pushing the ball in the right direction from the terrible 2021 season.
Yeah, they were at 42 degrees. That was their lowest point, which means it is never frozen. Diamondbacks have never frozen.
Yay!
And that's actually saying something because Cleveland Guardians back in 1993 reached 10.7 degrees. The Oakland A's 9.8 degrees back in 1967.
Oh, I was going to say, what was that now? That feels like the Oakland A's now.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah,
I mean, they've got to be. The Oakland A's are actually right in the middle. The Oakland A's are 15th on this list at 56.5 degrees.
We need to separate us.
I think going back to what we were talking about earlier, I think you were right in that you drop you get 90% of your degrees from the previous year automatically, but I don't think anything takes points away. Okay. So the A's aren't getting like destroyed for the fact that they've been just abysmal the last few years. They're just kind of dropping in the way that a lot of other teams would. Wow. So I guess it kind of makes sense why they'd be sort of in the middle here. Who do you think is the hottest team in all of baseball right now?
Ooh, I want to say the St. Louis Cardinals.
It's not the St. Louis Cardinals. They are 6th. They're up there.
Okay.
Teams that have a lot of especially recent sustained success.
Dodgers, Astros.
Dodgers are 2, Astros are 1. Yeah, the Astros are at 195.6 degrees right now, which is feels pretty outrageous.
Scorching.
Yeah,
scorching. I mean, because they do it every year. They don't win the whole thing every year, but they get those positive. They get it moving in the correct direction. They get some good bonus
points every year.
Ski to you, Nicholas. Great to see you here in the chat. We appreciate all of you guys for being here. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. By the way, speaking of weekend, we have a very special episode dropping tomorrow on Saturday, so make sure not to miss that. I don't know when it's am I peeling back the curtain too much by like telling them it's pre-recorded, or did I already do that?
I mean, you just did it right now.
I did it right now.
I think now that's
what time do you want that to drop? 1?
What time should we drop it at? 1? Yeah, we'll drop it at 1. What do you think?
Tune in at 1 p.m.
I don't know. This is actually what we do.
I think last Saturday we did it at 1 p.m.
Yeah,
so we'll probably stick with tradition.
1 o'clock. Pretend like I didn't just tell you any of that. We'll see you live tomorrow at 1 o'clock on Saturday.
Nothing.
Yeah, just Men in Black little device thing.
I was thinking Jedi mind trick, but we're on the same wavelength here.
Yeah. I disappointed myself. I should have gone Jedi mind trick. Yeah, for sure. The show is not going to be pre-recorded. All right. Well, we will see you guys, of course, tomorrow. But in the meantime, you can follow us on Twitter. I am at Cap_Caveman with a K. This absolute maniac next to me is at Jesse N. Friedman. Damon is the people's producer. You can find him at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. We are Damon's Dogs. Bark, bark.
It just didn't.
Wasn't feeling it today.
I don't have an explanation for that. My brain just didn't work.
He wasn't feeling it today.
He just wants to quit early. He just gave up on me. So.
I got Derek. I got my friends at Illegal Pete's. That's all
right.
I need.
Yeah, that's fair. Damon doesn't need me anyway.
But you know what? You're still taking him to Gila River, right? Not including me on the boys' trip. So whatever. But
We're
anyway,
rethinking.
All right. Well, you should. But we thank you guys, of course. You can follow our show at PHNX_Dbacks, but all roads do lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We will see you tomorrow. In the meantime, we appreciate you for stopping by today. Thank you for your time. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when you say bark, bark when you're supposed to.
We all silly like the mayor.